the reality is that's going to have to be closed somehow, and we're just going to have a 6-day period now to get that figured out, and we're going to have to put our heads in together and come up with what the real gap is. The governor yesterday moved to their position more closely on the education shift by $500 million, and more closer to their position on the revenue bonds by $500 million. That's not a small move by any means, but essentially was ignored by the Democrats. And so I think there has to be some acknowledgement the governor is moving to compromise, but I think there's also another part of this. It doesn't just relate to reducing spending or raising taxes, but it was announced in the last day that Medtronic wants to open 1,400 new jobs in Texas, and Governor Perry is making a big hoopla out of that. We still can't lose sight of the fact that Minnesota has an anti-job, anti-business climate, and we should be able to try to grow our way out of this by job creation. And the fact of the matter is the Democrats' proposal is taking us in the wrong direction by wanting to make us the 4th highest tax on the income tax in the country, and also making us uncompetitive in a variety of other areas. So it was a cordial meeting. I don't know that there was an enormous amount of progress other than just restating where everyone is at.
Well, I'll just reiterate a little bit what Marty indicated. The meeting was cordial. I think we all realize, after today, 5 days left. We've got certainly a lot of work to do. I sensed within the governor a receptive nature in terms of working with the majority caucuses. My hope is that we continue to do this, and that, frankly, we sit down around the table, as we've done other years, and get this job done. We can do this if there's a will. I wonder at times whether that will exists, but I'm confident that it's still there. Again, 5 days to go, a lot of work to do, certainly possible to get it done, but it's essential that we now hunker down, if you will, work together, and move towards the conclusion of this session.
What about the Democrats' point that this would cost, I think they estimated 20,000 jobs, and that Minnesotans would feel that as much or more as the effect of any tax increases?
Well, I mean, they're not looking at their own proposals. Under their own proposal on K-12, they have a more of a cut to K-12 than the governor does. So, they talk about job losses in both the private and public sector, but they're not looking at their own proposals and how many jobs are being lost under what they're doing. So the reality is we're trying to look at fostering economic development and job growth on the private sector level, so it lifts all boats at the end of the day. And it's not going to be easy to get out of this budget situation no matter what. But they have to look at their own proposals before they throw stones at someone else's.
Does this boil down to another fight over health care?
Well, it's certainly a big significant part of the pie because it's one of the fastest growing parts of the budget. You can't grow Health and Human Services by 20% and expect that we're going to get out of this situation long term. We're going to be wallowing in debt year after year if we don't get control of some of the entitlement programs.
Does the revenue or tax issue force a special session at this point?
I mean, if the Democrats demand tax increases, it's going to cause a big problem. We think that's unnecessary and wasteful. David said many times it's $40,000 a day to have a special session. We don't want one. We think we can get the job done. But they're going to have to get off of their stubborn position of raising taxes on the average person out there and get back to reality that the average person out there is reducing expenses, looking at what they're doing, reforming lifestyles. We're going to have to do that in the government as well.
I'm going to say something. A lot of discussion about certainly job loss, and you heard that from the majority caucus. What you hear little about is job growth, and there we go right back to this thing about taxes and how do we grow jobs and prosperity in Minnesota. And it's simply not through the additional taxes, and it's like they don't get it. And you can love or hate these tobacco revenue bonds, but it frankly is a bridge to the end of the session, and I'd urge that they take a long look at that once again, irrespective of the votes. I mean, today is today. We've got 5 days left. Let's get serious about where we are, what the options are, and frankly look at those options, and I would recommend take some of them, in particular the tobacco appropriation bonds.
So do you now feel that in both of your caucuses that there would be substantially more support for the governor's appropriation bonds now than earlier?
I would think at $500 million there'd be more support than at $1 billion, but as you move towards whether it's May 18th or July 1st, there's going to be all sorts of votes that are going to be different than what they were a month or two ago, when it's kind of easy to be against everything. But the reality is the Democrats have 87 seats, and for them to try to expect us to, we can't pass bills on our own. I don't know if they figured that out or not, but the reality is the governor is his own person, and they have to understand that.
So I didn't hear a yes in there to whether you could get your own caucus to support the Republican government.
There's going to be more support now than what there was a few weeks ago, I'm sure.
Did gambling come up?
Be supportive of fee increases as a solution. No, don't follow the tax.
We're not wild on fee increases. We've been against those. We almost all voted against the public safety bill today, and I'd say in the public safety bill today, we had a bill that raised fees in the House at a certain level and the Senate at a certain level, and the conference report came back and the fee increases were higher than the House or the Senate to start with. So when Democrats go in a room to compromise with each other, they come back with something that's larger than what they started with. And as I said on the floor, it's like when my daughter wanted a kitten and my son wanted a hamster, it'd be like coming back with a rhinoceros. They leave the floor with tax increases that are this and this, and then they come back with something bigger. Same with the fee increases. I just don't. I see it as a non-starter.
Did gambling come up?
We did not talk
No,
about.
we didn't talk about
gambling,
No.
but the speaker talks about ongoing revenue. You might want to ask her if that's a possibility.
We challenge you, leader, to come up with the votes to create more cuts. Can you do it?
What's the purpose of that? We have 47 people.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's time to stop wasting time with rhetorical back and forths and put our heads together and come up with the possibilities of if we have to do some shifts and some reductions and some pushing out of payments or whatever it is. Now is the time to get serious and not say, well, we want the minority to put up votes for something that's not going to happen anyway. The average person is sick of games like that.
Time for the majority to govern. I mean, it's a pretty simple deal. They know where the rules are. They know where the fence line is. Just bring it on. Bring the proposals. We can get this done. We have to.
Right. Good. I got to go to conference, man.